California to get a little bit of sun with my wife's family. And we ate way too much food. And so it was good Thanksgiving. I hope your guys' was good as well. This is going to be a good episode because we got Brent Kessler with us on the show from the Money Multiplier. Brent focuses in on short-term rentals on Airbnbs. So if that is a strategy you guys have considered and are interested in, this is the episode to listen to. Brent, I'm excited to jump into this. Thanks for hopping on.
Hey, Gabe. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Looking forward to sharing with your community.
Absolutely. I told you before we got on here, we always like starting with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. So why don't you take us back to the beginning of your story in real estate and tell us how you got here?
Yeah, well, again, I won't take you way back, but just to give you a little bit of backstory, I was a chiropractor. I guess I still am a chiropractor. I just don't practice anymore. I had 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. And anyway, I discovered this thing called the infinite banking concept, how to become your own banker, basically how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses that you already have. And I implemented that strategy in my life, paid off almost $1 million of debt in 39 months, all by adding one step to my financial life. Became really passionate about this. And so I decided to start teaching it. So I started teaching this concept back in 2012. We have a company called the Money Multiplier. I travel around the country, do a lot of live events. I do a lot of podcast Zooms like we're doing today. And I teach people all around the country on this concept. And a lot of the people in the groups that I teach are people that are in real estate investors. So as I'm traveling around and I'm doing that, I'm learning more and more about real estate myself. And of course, the thing I'm doing is I'm looking at places to put, right, as far as my dollars and my money. So I start buying some properties. One property, the very first one that I had, was a property that I was trying to sell, was having a hard time selling it. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to keep this as a rental, right? Now that was a long-term rental, and that ended up being really good. I ended up keeping that thing for quite a few years before I sold it just a few years back, right? And it's kind of like my clinics as well. Even though I didn't own the real estate in the clinics, I sold all 5 of my clinics in the Kansas City area. And then I became an empty nester. My wife and I, in 2017, we moved to Florida. And, that's where we're at now. We're coming to you from like near Daytona Beach, Florida. And then obviously when you start making money, you get hit on some taxes and different things like that. Now, I will tell you, I am the dumbest person in the world on taxes when it comes to doing tax stuff and what stuff you can do, what stuff you can't do, and all of that. That's just not my thing. I can talk to you about money and wealth building strategies and keeping money in the family. So then I started buying some properties. I started buying some additional properties. I bought another long-term rental, and then I started buying some short-term rentals as well. And I even still have some raw land. I'm currently, as we speak today, where we're at today, I have another property, a short-term rental that I'm under contract with up in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee area, the Smoky Mountains. And I've got it narrowed down to 3 properties in Panama City Beach, which is actually around Panama City Beach, Florida, or Destin, Florida. So, and then too, I'm just kind of getting into that as well, more the depreciation and also for the cost segregation aspect of things as well. Now, I can't tell you everything about it, right? And again, all the stuff that I've learned and then I've done it because there's other people that have kind of taught me, as far as what to do. And I've just taken some successful people. I watch what they do and I'm applying it myself. And because I teach this banking concept, I'm able to keep all the money in the family. So in other words, what I can do, Gabe, is I can recycle and recapture all of the money. So that means I can use the same money to buy properties over and over and over and recycling that money through this concept that I teach. So yeah, I look at buying probably in this next coming year, I look at buying no less than a half a dozen new properties and continuing to expand that portfolio on top of like the half a dozen or so that I have, short-term rentals, long-term rentals. And also I own some raw land too. And we got another project with a piece of that raw land that we're doing construction on. We just got the final permit. So that'll be done sometime at the end of 2026, and that'll also be a short-term rental. So most of my stuff going forward will be short-term rentals.
Nice. Yeah, short-term rentals, they are, if you get them, if you buy them right, I mean, obviously this is the same with everything that you do in real estate, you got to buy it right. But specifically with short-term rentals, if you get the right area, the right municipalities that support short-term rentals, they can really crush it in terms of the cash flow. I mean, you're talking, I've heard crazier numbers on the short-term side than I have on any other type of asset. So it is a very attractive. I do want to get into that for the bulk of the show. Before we do, though, let's touch first on infinite banking. Infinite banking. You mentioned it a few times. You mentioned this is the strategy that you were able to use in order to exit the $1 million of debt in 39 months while you were coming up. So tell us quickly, what is infinite banking and how can people utilize it in their own careers?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, there's a guy that wrote a book. He wrote this book called Becoming Your Own Banker, and his name was Nelson Nash. And Nelson, he was my mentor. He passed away almost 7 years ago now at age 87 in 2019. And actually, this book and his teachings completely changed my life. So I've just taken his teachings and now I've implemented this. And I have a company called The Money Multiplier. You can just go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com. I also wrote a book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. And again, I'm happy to share that book for free with all of your viewers. I'll give them the ebook. Send me an email, Brent at themoneymultiplier.com. I'll send you that ebook. And the guy I wrote the book with, a lot of you in the real estate world may know him. His name is Chris Naugle. And if you haven't heard of Chris Naugle, go Google him. Go to chrisnaugle.com. Go Google his name. He's had a couple shows on TV, one on House Hunters, another one on another show on HGTV called Risky Builders. And again, Chris goes into this whole banking concept as well. But just to give you the high level, the 20,000 foot view, the concept's been around for over 250 years. If you research what the wealthy have done with money, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Morgan Stanleys, Barclays, this is the concept that they've used to keep money in their family and being able to recycle and recapture the money. As a matter of fact, so Robert Kiyosaki, big into real estate, he talks about it in his book called Second Chance. Tony Robbins talks about it in his book called Money Master the Game. So it's not a new concept. It's not on trial, but most people don't understand how it works because everybody makes it way, way, way too complicated. I've just taken it and I've broken it down into a very easy to use third, fourth grade level. I have a full presentation on my website that people can go watch
So
with the
real quick,
downloadable
just what
attachments.
bring us to the actual strategy. I want to hear because I've people have brought us through this a few
Yeah,
times, and I've been having a hard time teasing it away from other strategies that have been mentioned. So
yeah,
real quickly, what is the strategy? The 10,000
yeah.
foot view. What
Yeah,
are the
the
steps?
10,000, yep. So the 10,000 foot view is what you're going to do is just put money into a whole life insurance policy or a system of policies, not just one, but a system of policies. Now, I know I say the word whole life insurance and people are like life insurance, that there's no way you can build wealth or buy real estate through life insurance. Well, again, it's very specific of what type of policy it has to be. It's not a term variable IUL or UL policy. It is a specifically designed, specially engineered whole life policy that's designed for high immediate cash value. That's important. High immediate, meaning when you put money, excuse me, when you put money into that policy, you immediately have the cash value to use. When I say immediately, within 30 days. Now, what you do is you take money from that policy and you go do any investment that you want. I know we're talking today about real estate. So I'll put money into the policy. I'll use money in the policy to go fund my real estate deals. Now I'm in total control. So I'm essentially controlling the banking function, the money function in my life. That all that
So
money is
I'm going to jump in
growing.
here. How is that any different than just using cash? Because the point of real estate is to invest money to grow that money. But
Yeah.
why is it any different? If I brought a suitcase, if I'm buying $1 million property and I brought a suitcase of $200,000 to put the down payment, how is that any different than using a whole life policy? Bringing money from a whole life policy. and putting it into the property?
Yeah, great question. And again, cash, the thing that you do with cash is, first of all, you have to have the cash. And then the thing you have to do is when you give the cash or buy the property, that cash is gone forever. So you've really exchanged the cash for the property. But if you add that one step and you run it through this process, this concept, now all the cash is still in your policy. Whenever you use the money to buy the real estate, you're not using your money. You're taking a loan from the general fund of the insurance company. So all of your money is still in your account, growing and compounding in that guaranteed tax-free growth rate account. It's compounding and you're using the money the same way. So if you paid cash or bank finance, what you would have to do is replace that cash or pay back the loan. Well, the same thing happens in the policy, but there's no requirements ever to pay back the policy loan. You're not required to pay it back because the loan that you're taking from the insurance company is simply a prepayment of the death benefit. So in a very simple term, you're essentially, the thing that you're doing is you're using a portion of your death benefit proceeds, future proceeds, to you're using a portion of that money now instead of waiting till you die and then your beneficiaries get it. And the most important thing is the money is able to be recycled and reused over and over and over again, just like Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book Second Chance, and Tony Robbins talks about in the book Money Master the Game.
So if you put, so going back to that example, and I apologize everybody, I'm still getting over the sickness that I mentioned earlier on a couple episodes before that my daughter gave me. I'm still getting over it, and I'm just I can't get over this dang cough. Anyways, so going back to our original example, we put $200,000. This time we're doing it with this whole life policy insurance. So if it's a loan, $200,000, you can't, if that money is in that property, you put $200,000 in the property, you cannot use that $200,000 again. It's still in that property, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and
So
so
if
how,
you put
I
the
still
money
don't
in the
understand how
property,
that's different from putting cash into the property.
okay, so like Gabriel, here, I'm asking you this: like, if you pay cash for a property, so like, do you agree that the cash has to exchange hands? It has to go to somebody else, and that money
Right.
is gone forever. Now, in return, what you're going to do is get your investment, your returns, your percentage rate, rent, whatever it is that you're getting. So that'll come to you on a monthly basis or however it is on that property. But the cash is gone forever. It's kind of like people say that, hey, I pay cash, so I never pay interest. Well, that's not true. Because if you pay cash for something, yes, you're not quote paying interest, but you give up the interest that that cash could have been earning. So
Right.
when you just add the one step, and again, I don't want anybody to change anything that they're doing. We're just adding one step. If you put the money in the policy first, then use the insurance company's money, your cash is still in your account. It's still in your account.
But just to clarify, that cash cannot be used again because it has been used in the deal.
Well, yeah, that particular cash can't be used, but the cash is still in your policy, growing and earning interest. I think you're giving me what you have, man.
Yeah,
That
Zoom
cash,
is
it can't be used again at that minute, but as time goes on, that money is still growing inside of your account. It's still growing, and
so this is really a way to earn interest on the money that you invest, the cash that you invest in a deal. Is that pretty accurate?
it is. If I buy a real estate piece of property and let's say I'm just going to get 10% return on it, I'm getting the 10% return just as if I would pay cash on it. Okay. If I pay 200,000, get 10%. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to get the same money doing it on the policy. I'm still going to get the 10%. But now what I do is because I've ran it through the policy through this process, I'm still earning money, interest and dividends and growth inside of the policy as well. So I'm
So
essentially
what?
double
So
dipping.
that part I don't understand because well, I guess I've never had a life insurance policy, and so I don't really understand how they work. But
No,
to my understanding, your insurance policy does not, it's not invested in the stock market. It's not invested. It
right.
doesn't have an interest rate applied to it. Is that not accurate with this specific type of product?
Yeah, well, yeah, so kind of yes and no, and it depends on what type of policy you have. A lot of people nowadays they talk about IUL, Index Universal Life Policies, and the growth of an IUL depends on the stock market and what it's doing. There's other factors that determine that. But the problem with one of those type of policies is as you get older, the cost of insurance rises. And as you get older, the person can't keep funding that amount of money, or they don't want to fund that amount of money because the cost of insurance gets higher because your age gets higher, right? So in other words, you're closer to death as you get older. Yeah. Um, in a whole life policy in a mutual company, it stays consistent or you can lower it, but there is a guaranteed, there is a contractually guaranteed obligation that the insurance company pays. It is directly in your contract. So there's a guaranteed growth, and above and beyond the guaranteed growth, there's dividends, and dividends can be huge, and they get bigger and bigger each and every year because of the growth gets bigger and bigger, and the dividends are paid on the growth. Now,
Yeah.
even though Gabe, dividends are not guaranteed, but no company that, at least with this process that we work with, no insurance company, and I work with 6 different companies, no insurance company has never not paid a dividend for 123 consecutive years. So you get the
So,
guaranteed growth, which in
mhm.
general is 4% tax free, plus the dividend, which is generally anywhere between another 1.2 to 2.5. So 5.2 to say 6.5%. And people think, well, that's not a very good growth. I agree. It's not a good growth, but it's not to take away from your investments that are doing good growth. But if you're making 5%, let's just use 5%. If you're getting growth at 5%, plus you're getting the same growth that your investment would make. But remember, the 5% that you're getting is tax free. And what is our biggest eroder of wealth? Is taxes. So when you're getting 5% tax free growth, that's equivalent to way more than 5% if it was a taxable growth.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, interesting. My initial reaction, 4% is not a good return, and if I had money that I was
Not.
going to be so if I have money that I'm not currently using that is waiting to be deployed in real estate, I would prefer to put it into something that has a higher return, even just an index fund. An index fund is going to be beating 4%. And
Yeah.
an index fund, I mean, if it's in the stock market, it's not liquid, but it can be turned into cash pretty quickly. I mean, not instantly, but within your due diligence period, you can get that cash out and put it into a deal. So my
I
initial
totally
reaction is
agree
I
with
still
you.
don't feel like that's the highest and best use of your cash. To if it's really the whole point is to be invested into real estate. If you're wanting the highest return on your cash prior to while it's waiting to be deployed, an index fund would exceed the 4%. But I mean, if you can invest, if you're saying that you can continue to get that 4% while it's invested in the
Yes.
deal, that I mean that makes a little bit more
Mhm.
sense depending on how long you're, for a flip it doesn't make sense because it's 6 to 8 months and you're out of it. But if you're talking
Mhm.
about repositioning commercial, 4 to 7 years, um, that starts to make a little bit more sense. Is that accurate? Like that $200,000 in our example,
Well,
you're going to
yeah, so
continue to get 4%. So your margin is going to be 4% on the get go, regardless of what the return is for the actual money that you put into the deal.
yeah, anyway, so there's a lot there you said, a lot to unpack, and I'm probably not gonna remember everything, so if I don't, ask me again, but the key thing is an index fund, there's no guarantees, and you can lose money. You can never, ever lose money in a policy. I talk to people all the time that have taken a bloodbath in the stock market or putting it out there and different things like that. This is guaranteed growth, and also what's key is this is not to replace that. I mean, I have clients. I have over 17,000 people that I work with in every state of the country. And a lot of them love the stock market. They love index. I mean, they love all of that stuff. This is not an either or, it's an and, it's an addition to. Continue to do what you're doing and add this piece to it. Like, for example,
But am I right in saying that this $200,000 that is in the whole life insurance that you invested into a deal, we put it into a self-storage facility. $200,000 has been deployed into that self-storage facility. I am still being paid from the whole life from the insurance company for
Yes.
that $200,000 that is somewhere else at this point. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Okay.
Yes, I'll give you an example. On top of me doing the short-term rentals and long-term rentals, I do a lot of private lending on real estate deals. Currently, as we sit here today, I have $10,266,000 loaned out on real estate deals as lending deals. So here's how it works. I'm the bank. I have my money, I make the loan. Let's just say I get 10% return. Now, I would never take 10% return. I don't even charge my kids 10%, right? So, but let's just use 10% as a return. So 10 million, 10%, that should give me $1 million a year, right? So I get that back as the 10% on the lending deal. I am in first position on the lending deal, meaning I am in first position. Like if you come to me, Gabe, and want to borrow money, I'm like, what's the collateral? I don't care about your background, your history. I want to know if something goes bad, what do I foreclose on? Right. So I'm in first position. I even have a shirt that says, if you're not first, you're last. Right. So I don't want to be in second position. Why? Because I'm 58 years old and I've done second position deals before and I don't do them anymore. So I'm in first position. So I have that monthly income coming in. Let's just call it, for the sake of easy math, $100,000 a month on the $10 million deal. But the money went into the policy first. So not only do I get the 100,000 that I'm getting from you as the borrower that's coming back to me, that $10 million is inside of the policies growing and compounding, and I'm getting that growth as well. And the growth gets bigger each and every year because as the policy gets older, it gives you more growth. That's not me telling you, that is in the contract of the policy. So you're double dipping on the money. And I'm going to give you one example for your viewers to go out and look at. There is a client of mine. He's now a colleague. His name is Devin Burr. He's out in Arizona. He's a big real estate investor in Phoenix, Arizona. His name is Devin Burr. He shares a lot on TikTok, Instagram. He goes by Mr. Burr, MR_Burr, BRRRR. Go out and follow him. He shows you how he buys all of his real estate using this method, and he's using the same money over and over and over again to buy multiple pieces of property. Great resource, great content. I just want to go check him out.
And I always like to understand motivations and why an insurance company would do this. And from their perspective, they do this because they are reinvesting this money. Wait, but yeah, you put $200,000 in this insurance policy. They take that money and reinvest it for 10%. They give you 4%, and they get the 6% split. Is that essentially why they would be doing something like this?
Well, yeah. So that is accurate. And don't kind of look at it as a 10 and the 4, because the 4 is the guaranteed growth, and then you have dividends on top of that. But to answer your question specifically, so the insurance company takes your money that you pay for premium when you buy a life insurance policy, and their portfolio. All right. So at least the ones I use, which are mutual companies, very important to have a mutual company and not a stock company when you're doing this, because you are the owner of the contract, not the company. You're the owner of the contract. So the insurance company will take your premium dollars. They put about 80% of that into investment grade bonds. That's what they do with it. They put another 7% in home and commercial mortgages. A lot of big housing developments, a lot of big commercial developments are financed by blocks of money from insurance companies. They put another 7% into policy loans to their policy holders. This is what I'm talking about, and this is the space that we deal with, which that's why on my recorded presentation, I show people how you can borrow at a higher percentage than what you're earning and make money all day long. So in other words, the thing you can borrow at 6 and earn 4 and make money. I know it doesn't make sense when we say it, but I map it out and I show you how it's done. And then the other 7%, they have to keep in a very low interest bearing account, almost equivalent to cash, because when death occurs, they have to pay out those death claims in a timely manner. So yes, all we're doing is utilizing, in other words, our future death benefit value, a portion of it, to use that money now. So we're using that money inside of the pool, and we're taking it out, Gabe, as a policy loan and not a withdrawal. And the reason we take it out as a policy loan is there's lots of advantages for doing that, because if you take it out as a withdrawal, now you have to surrender part of your death benefit and the value of the policy, and you don't want to do that.
Okay. So we've run down the clock, unfortunately. I wanted to get into the
Mhm.
Airbnb, so I apologize to
No, let's
everybody
do it.
listening. You thought you were going to get an Airbnb, a short-term rental episode, but we talked about infinite banking. Still very interesting, and so I still appreciate it. My last question before we do move on, let's talk about a failure. So, what if you invest into your deal, that $200,000 we put into this self-storage, this imaginary self-storage facility? That deal, for some reason, a meteor comes from the sky, destroys the facility, everything is lost. What happens to that $200,000? Do you have to repay it, or is it just taken out of? I mean, you tell me. What happens to that 200?
Oh, okay. Are you talking about if it's in a policy or just if it happens in no matter wherever? Is that what you're
Well,
asking?
so you used that. You bought the $1 million property. You put $200,000 down, and you got that through this policy that you're talking about.
Oh,
That two hundred thousand
okay.
dollars was deployed, was invested by the insurance company. If that deal, for whatever reason,
Okay.
completely just gets destroyed, and that money is
Okay.
lost, what
Okay.
happens? What happens
Okay.
in that
Yeah.
situation?
Yep. So inside of the policy loan, the thing you're doing is you're taking a policy loan. So let's just say the loan is for 200,000. So there is a policy loan on that policy. Okay. Yes, it's ideal if you pay the loan back, but if you don't, it's essentially a prepayment of the death benefit. So that 200,000 will eventually get paid back, but it doesn't have to get paid back till you die. But then it never really gets paid back with you coming out of cash to pay it back. It's going to be reduced. So the
Hmm.
death benefit
You have a
will
million
be
dollar
reduced.
policy. You lost 200,000. Now you get eight
Yeah,
hundred
so
thousand.
so now you have 800,000 of death benefit that goes to your beneficiaries. Now let's talk about it without a policy, and I can give you some good examples of this. Remember, I just gave you one with my shirt. If you're not in first position, you're in last.
Hmm.
So if you're in second position, you're behind someone else. It
Yeah.
sucks
Yeah.
to be behind someone else. And then I'm going to give you a real life example. I own a short-term rental. If you go out, it's in Captiva Island, Florida, Sanibel Captiva. It's CaptivaBeachSunset.com. If you want to go look up the property, it's a $3.5 million short-term rental property. It went through Hurricane Ian a couple years ago. It
Hmm.
was insured. It was insured. It went through Hurricane Ian. I ended up getting about $1 million in insurance money. I got insurance money of about $1 million, but it was a
Wow.
naitemare. It was very
I
painful
I had to
to
do an
go
insurance
through
claim
that
last year,
process.
and I don't
But
wish that on anyone. That
but
sucks.
I did get it back. Right, I did get it back. But but the thing I want you to keep in mind is the money that I used to buy the property went through the policy. So even though I would use like that income to come back in to pay back that policy loan, just like you would do it at a bank, you know, any money that I pay back to the policy loan, I'm able to use that money right again immediately. If
Hmm.
I just had it financed with the bank and I decided to pay off principal, and I said, "Oh crap, I wish I wouldn't have paid that principal." Okay, because I want to use the money now for something else. You can't do that. You can't call the bank back and saying, "Hey, I paid back 200,000 in principal. I want to get some of it back." No, no,
Hmm.
no. They don't just give it back to you. In the policy, you pay it back, and it's like you're paying it back, but you have access to it all right again away. So I would hope that if you have properties, you have some kind of insurance, unless you're going
Hmm.
to self-insure, which is a whole nother topic
Yeah.
we can go over, is self-insuring. Um, but yeah, so basically you'll be covered there. But the point is that the point I want everybody to get is the main reason this process and concept is different is because all the money now stays in a closed system. Money
Yeah.
is not being leaked out to other people. It stays in your family forever.
Yeah. One last question that I had. I know that was supposed to be the last question, but I do have one other question here. And I'm sorry, my daughter just came into the room, so we might get some conversations going on.
That's
One
cool,
other
man.
question
Live
that I
TV. My
had.
dog hasn't barked yet, so but that's cool.
uh, um, oh, you keep mentioning that you're taking a loan from your policy. What interest rate are you taking this at an interest? Because you said you're
You
gaining
are.
4%, but what is the
You are.
interest rate that you have to pay on this loan that you're taking out?
Yep. Yep. And great question. And I go through that because people ask that all the time. And in that 90-minute presentation I have on my website, I go into deep detail about that. But here's the high level picture. The thing you do is you borrow at 6 and you earn 4. Now, you never pay 6% for the loan. Right. It's going to be less than that. And the growth is going to be greater than 4. But I like to under promise and over deliver. Now, here's what you would think. You would think if I borrow at 6 and I earn 4, that doesn't make sense. I'm losing 2. Right. I get it. But you got to remember of how it plays out, because the loan is on a decreasing balance. It goes down because you're paying down. Okay, you're paying down the loan. The growth in the policy is on an increasing balance. So what people need to understand is and again, just not real estate investors, everybody, is that if you have your money in your own banking system, and when you borrow, you can borrow at a higher rate than what you're earning and make money all day long. So you actually make more money borrowing at 6 at the same time you're earning 4. It's not the 2% arbitrage that you would think, because of the growth that's going on, and also the way the interest works. And the interest is not compound interest, which a lot of things are compound interest. It's simple interest. And I also have a thing where I show you, this is more for real estate people, that you can borrow at 10. I'm sorry, borrow at 20% and earn 10 and make money all day long. It's amazing when we just start learning how money works. And I
Is
get
it
it, Gabe.
because of
I get it.
is it because of compound interest, the value
Yes,
of time?
it's because, well, yes, it does have to do with it, but it's because you have a constant growth on the full balance and you're using the money at the same time. And I never understood. It took me 2 years to start doing this as a customer,
Yeah.
because I was like you, very skeptical, and I didn't get it. So from 2006 to 2008, I was like, no, there's a catch. There's a catch. They're not telling me something, but
Yeah.
it's the truth. And this is why I tell
Well,
everybody.
if there's an incentive for all parties involved, then it makes sense. It just I think the last piece for me is why would an insurance company do this? Because they need to be incentivized as well. They need to have motivation. They need to be making money. And so if they're not making
Well,
money while you're making money, then that wouldn't make sense to me. But
they
we're gonna
both
have to
make
save
money.
that for a second episode because we're past 30 minutes. Try to
Okay.
keep these at 20 minutes.
All right. I'm
So
with
I'm
you.
gonna have to push us into the quick question round. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
All right, let's do it. It starts with education. It could be any form. It could be a book you've read, a conference you've gone to, a mentorship program you've been a part of. I just need 2 recommendations: one for general life wisdom, one specific for general life wisdom, and then one for real estate.
Yeah, well, I would tell you, with like, anyway, so there's an event that I go to every year. I speak at it every other year. Usually it's called RALA, Residential Assisted Living. It's out in Arizona. It just was last month. That's a great event. The lady's name is Isabel
Yeah, we've had her
Guarnerio.
on the podcast a few times. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
okay, so
pretty good.
Isabel, actually, Isabel's a client of mine. She promotes. I speak on her stage. They actually love it. I have a lot of clients from that group. But that's one of the best real estate events that I go to. You learn so much more, so many different topics in so many areas wherever you go to. And again, there's other ones. There's lots of them. I mean, I've done stuff with Pace Morby through his platform and things like that. It just depends on what you want. But I always say there's no one, right? There's not one way that's going to get you $100,000. There's 100 ways that'll get you $1,000, right? So it's not like I'm looking for the
Well,
magic
yeah,
bullet.
and we're just looking for a specific, like a book you've read or a conference you've
Oh,
gone to. So the
yeah.
RAL
Well,
conference is a recommendation that you could give
yeah.
people.
Anything that, like any book by Robert Kiyosaki, by Zig Ziglar. I love, Zig Ziglar stuff in the past. Any Robert Kiyosaki stuff. Even tax-free wealth books, right? I can't remember the guy's name, but he wrote a book called Tax-Free Wealth.
Yeah,
Uh,
I forget the name of that one too, but
yeah.
it's been recommended before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, I'm going to move us on to the next question. This is for your younger self. So let's go
Mm.
back to the Brent who is still a chiropractor out in, I think you said Kansas City,
Yep.
or something like that. Go back to that version of Brent, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Yeah, pay attention, get excited, and never quit, right? Pay attention to what you're doing, get excited about what you're doing, and never quit. It's going to get tough. It's going to be hard. You're going to have arguments with your spouse, your family. It's going to suck at times, but never quit. I always say, if you dig, if you have a shovel and you keep digging through the shit, dig through the shit, dig through the shit, there's a pony down there somewhere. There's a pony down there somewhere. So just don't quit, but be passionate about what you're doing. Don't do it for the wrong reason. The wrong reason is, hey, I'm going to get wealthy and I'm going to get rich. There is no magic bullet. This concept that I'm sharing with you, it's not a sprint. It's not a get rich quick thing. It's a marathon. You got to make changes in your life. And also, the thing is, find a good mentor, mindset, systems, and mentors. Have a good system, find a good mentor or a series of mentors that are doing what you want to do, and learn from them. Learn from them. And don't
Nice.
try to reinvent the wheel and do it yourself, because you don't know what the hell you're doing until you've actually done it. Then change it.
I like that. So pay attention, get excited, never quit. That is great advice at any stage in life, really. If you want to achieve anything, never quit and just keep going through the things that you're going to get hit in the face. Things are going to pop up and you're not going to expect it. But if you just pay attention, get excited, and never quit, you're going to get the results eventually that you want to get. So I love that
Hey,
that
Gabe, I've
piece of
been married
advice.
for 30 years. I've been married for 30 years, and I love my wife. We're going to be together forever, but we have had some talks and meetings with divorce attorneys in the past. It,
Mm,
it, it, it can get tough. It can get
yeah,
tough.
yeah. Yeah, but it's good sage advice. Yeah, like I said, at any stage of life. I'm going to move us on to the next one. This is about the U.S. It's a big place. There is a ton of opportunity out there. Let's take this from the perspective of your short-term rentals. Give me one metro that you're most excited about investing in today.
I'm real excited about this deal I'm about to go into in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the Pigeon Forge area. I've been doing a lot of research in there. Also, I think a beach community is just good. I have a property on Captiva Island. I would tell you that's probably not the best place to go. And here's why: because it's a remote island. You can only get there by a ferry boat or a small little airplane if you
Mm,
have an airplane
yeah,
membership. I am a pilot, so it works out really good for me. I have two airplanes, so I fly over there, but it's a lot more expensive to maintain. For help, insurance is more
yeah. I
if
was
you
gonna
can
say
even
getting
get it.
anybody to help
Flood
you out to
insurance.
do repairs,
Um,
that'd be hard.
yeah, so I have some short-term rental up in Island Park, Idaho, which is a
Mm,
great place,
yeah.
which is on the Montana, Idaho, Wyoming border. People stay at my place out there because of the snowmobile trails, some of the best snowmobile
Mm,
trails, a
nice.
thousand miles of trails. They groom every other day. And then in the summertime, people come out because they want to go to West Yellowstone, right? They want to
Mm,
tour West Yellowstone. I would say with short-term rentals, also you want to have a very good property manager, especially if you don't want to manage that stuff. Have
yeah.
somebody, pay them a little extra, make sure they're on top of things, and also don't think about just the cash flow. Like, right? Okay, so like very early on when we started our call today, Gabe, you talked about cash flow. So me, from my perspective, when I go in to do something, I don't look about how much money I'm going to make necessarily off of the deal. The thing I'm looking for is the cash flow, and also more important, I'm looking for the depreciation to offset my taxes, my tax liability, and I'm also looking, at cost segregation stuff as well. So, it's just not about dollar coming in, dollar going out. It's about where are you saving in other parts of your life that you're able to take advantage of. And there's no place, in my opinion, better than the United States of America with our laws and what we're able to do and take advantage of. But I always say, too, Gabe, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And a lot of people, they want to be a hog. They're not happy just being the pig and getting a little fat. They want to go for the gusto, go for the unexpected expectations. If you ever have a deal or see a deal that's like, man, that just looks way too good to be true, unless you've done massive research, you probably don't want to get into it because there's something down the road that's going to maybe bite you and you're going to end up getting slaughtered one way or the other. So like unrealistic expectations usually just don't pan out for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned so Eastern, basically that's Eastern, right? Yeah, Eastern Idaho for an area to invest in. Yeah, that area is beautiful. My sister lives not in that area, but near-ish that space, and it's definitely beautiful out there. All right, moving us on to the next question. This is about finding leads. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and generating leads. So, what is your favorite way to? Sorry, I said that wrong. What is your favorite way to generate leads and find
Yeah.
new deals?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, anytime you can get in front of people in like a speaking event or a community, like for example, for real estate, even though you think it may not work out, go to your local RIAs, go to RIAs that are around your area, go to RIAs that are out of state, do Zoom RIAs whenever they have it on Zoom. During COVID, they were doing that a lot. So get in that. I always say your network is equal to your net worth. The bigger your network is, the bigger your net worth it will be or will become. You never know who that person is that's going to connect you with maybe the next person. Even though that I may go to a RIA and I'm like, man, this wasn't very good. All these people in here are looking for the same thing that I'm looking for. None of them have any money. It wasn't very good, but you don't ever know that connection that you're going to make. So it may not be you coming up to that person and meeting that person. They may know somebody that you don't know that they're going to turn you on to, and that relationship turns into another. It's kind of like a domino effect. So always be willing to listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should listen twice as much as we talk. I still haven't learned that skill yet at almost 60 years old. I'm still working on it, but always be open. Always be open to receive information. Don't think you know everything there is to know about a specific topic. Be open and willing to learn. You don't have to agree with anything, but at least be willing and kind of see it from their point of the view, and then go do your own due diligence, go do your own research and see what's going on. That's what I tell people about me and my company. Don't take what I tell you. Go to the hundreds and hundreds of success stories, testimonials, plan designs that you will see, case studies, if you Google my name, Brent Kessler, or Google the money multiplier. Don't take my word for it. Go see what other people say about what we are doing for them and with them.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, right before we got on here, we were talking. Shoot, you know what? I just lost my train of thought. All right, well, with that, I'm just going to move us on to the next question. It's early in the morning, and I haven't had my coffee yet. So, next question is about lessons learned. Let's talk about the time that something went wrong, and you got to learn a lesson. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, pretty much every time something is going to go wrong. So yeah, let's talk about that deal. What was it, and what was the lesson you learned?
Oh, well, I could give you more than one, but I'll touch on one or two here. Remember, I said earlier I got the shirt that says "If you're not first, you're last." Okay, so I would be very cautious about being in second position on anything. People will offer you, "Well, I'm going to give you more interest if you're in second position." I don't care.
Yeah,
It's just
not
like
guaranteed.
it's just like the stock market, indexes or whatever. Yes, can my upside be higher? Absolutely, but I want the guarantees. I want the guarantees, right? I am the turtle that's gonna win the race. I'm not the rabbit that's gonna be fast out of the gate. But life is a marathon, right? Life is a marathon. If you've ever read a book by a guy named Rick Warren called A Purpose Driven Life, Rick Warren says life is like a marathon. It doesn't matter where you start, it only matters how you finish. The other thing I would tell you is whenever you have an issue with the deal that you're in, it could be anything, real estate related, business related, or whatever. Always try to work it out amongst yourselves. And the main way you're going to do that is having good, proper communication. If any of the sides quit communication, that shit can go down the tube in a hurry. And then guess what happens? Now you're in a lawsuit. Now you got attorneys involved. And I have bought attorneys lots of gifts for their family at Christmas time because of the fees that I have paid attorneys. Now, with that being said, it's always painful and costly to be in a lawsuit or litigation and have the attorneys helping you. But it's a better thing to pay the attorney ahead of time to keep everything clean and all focused. And I will tell you, Gabe, your family can be some of the worst people in your life. They will drag you down. Your own family members, if you come to them with a good idea and say, I've got this good idea, I'm going to do this, and they say, well, I don't think that's a very good idea. Quit taking advice from your broke ass brother-in-law, right? Do not take financial advice from somebody that's doing worse than you're doing. You can still get around the Thanksgiving table and have dinner with them and enjoy the family, but when it comes time to business and financial, be looking at people that are already doing it and learn from their mistakes. And I'm telling you, lawsuits and even if it doesn't go to a lawsuit and if it ends up getting settled, litigation can be expensive. And I'm going to give you a real quick real life example. I owed a guy, or he thought I owed him, our contract was done. He thought I owed him like $7,000. It was a pilot. It was one of my pilots that I had. He thought I still owed him $7,000. I said, no, here's our contract. Here's our agreement. This is our ending date. I don't owe you $7,000. So I'm like, I'm not paying him $7,000. Well, I ended up paying $20,000 in attorney fees to settle for $2,000. Plus the time, energy, and money. So I could have wrote him a check for 7 and been done, but instead I pay 22 and I go through 6 months of aggravation and crap,
Yeah.
which your time, how valuable is your time? What is your time worth? You got to put a value on time because they're not making any more of it. They're not making any more time.
Yeah, lawsuits are never fun, and it's always better if it's we've had a couple that we were definitely
Yeah.
not in the wrong, and you own mobile home parks, somebody's going to sue you if a tree limb falls or whatever. But people see you, and it's just not fun to go through that process, even if you are right, even if you did everything correctly. Just the process of going through that lawsuit, if it is a small amount, just pay it. That's my opinion. It's just if it's a couple $1,000 and you feel like they are actually going to take it to court and you're going to have to hire a lawyer and you're going to have to show up and do all this garbage. I don't know about, maybe not just pay it. I mean, you can always go through
Yeah, I know it's
mediation and see if
hard,
you can get
man.
it,
It's
but
hard because
yeah.
pride gets in the way, emotions come
And
into it.
you don't want
Even though I
that to get
tell myself
around and people
emotions don't
start.
get into it, they
Yeah,
do.
you don't want people to start learning that you'll just pay if they complain about anything, you'll pay. And so anyways, the point of that is lawsuits aren't fun. Stay away from them.
Yeah.
And that originated because you were saying the big lesson was keep communication lines open. And I couldn't agree with
Yes.
that more. Always communicate with your partners, especially when things are going wrong. Make sure
Yes.
everybody's on the same page. Make sure that you guys, are talking as often as you possibly can, because that's what's going to keep you away from those things that you don't want to actually do. So that is bringing us to the last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, absolutely right. And just the one quick thing I want to hit on, because you mentioned mobile home parks and you were asking for resources. There's a guy named Chris Rood. Just Google him, Chris Rood, ROOD. He does a lot in mobile home parks. He lives in Louisiana, Mississippi, somewhere like that. He has a group and conferences and things like that. He's a great person to learn about mobile home parks specifically. As a matter of fact, he has these hats. It actually says "Make mobile home parks great again." Make mobile home parks great again. But again, just another resource there. But yeah, so anyway, I wrote a book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. I'm happy to send your community the ebook version of it. Just send me an email, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, Brent at themoneymultiplier.com. You can go on our website, themoneymultiplier.com. There's a 90-minute video you can watch that really explains this concept that we've kind of touched on a little bit today. Just click on Watch Brent Now. So that's the best place to get a hold of me. My daughter, who's in my business with me, she's 26 years old. Her name is Hannah Kessler, also lives down here in the Daytona Beach area. She has a podcast called The Money Multiplier Podcast. She's got over 150 episodes. She does one episode a week. And great information to learn more about the concept and other deals. She's a lender as well. She's a real estate investor as well. So yeah, so good information. So yeah, man, just either go to my website, find me that way, or send me an email. And as a matter of fact, Gabe, right, like we said before we started, I will send you the same email that I'll send to any of your community that reaches out to me.
All right, perfect. So I'll put those links in the show notes. If you guys want to reach out, all you got to do is click the little more in the description. It's going to pull down that full description, and in there you can find Brent's links.
And yeah, Gabe, I think we should do a part 2 sometime. We
Hey,
should just
man,
do it.
we
More
didn't get it.
info.
We didn't get to talk about short-term rentals, so maybe we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
But with that said, Brent, I appreciate you hopping on the show, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Well, hey, Gabe, so thanks for having me. I know you have a choice of many, many, many guests, so I'm grateful that you invited me to be on. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review or a comment or anything like that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you